Hello again. Welcome to Spread, Nesson's football and sports betting picks podcast. I'm Nesson.com's Mike Cole, joined once again and as always by Ricky Doyle. Ricky, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Mike?
I've never been better. It is it's a great day to be alive, as Travis Tritt once sang. We are into Week 11 of the NFL. We'll get into that. I think the bulk of our show will be devoted to Week 11 of the NFL with our 3, 2, and 1 unit picks. But we also might do a little, we've kind of
losing track of the weeks.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's Week 11. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I was gonna double check that.
We have spread our wings a little bit over the last year, kind of branching out to other stuff, and we'll get back to that slightly a little bit here if we have time at the end to go over a big boxing match this weekend between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. So a lot to get to. Is there anything that we need to pick up from last week, whether it's in your life or on the football field or anything in between?
I don't think so. I think we're at the that point of the season where it's all kind of blending together for me, and I just haven't devoted a lot of time to football, Mike.
All right, the
last couple of weeks.
I'm trying to think if there's any other stuff that we can get to, just to basically bridge some time so you don't have to talk about as much football. But
it's been a little bit of fire drill, you know.
What's that?
It's a bit of fire drill today.
Yeah, well, that's understandable. I mean, it's you got a lot of balls in the air. That's understandable. Like I said, it's getting also to be the busy time of year. I'm not tying this into weather necessarily, but Thanksgiving is fast approaching.
We got to start talking about the Thanksgiving show.
That's right.
What we want to do with that this year. Always
shoot it
very
into
festive.
The sun. Yeah,
it's one possibility. Maybe
turkey.
we just go the complete opposite direction. And we really lean into it. Maybe we cook this year. You've always talked about wanting to cook on the air, so maybe
that's a good point. Yeah,
this is the year to try it.
We're gonna get some. Yeah, there's a kitchen downstairs. I don't know if there's an oven necessarily, but
we
you
got
and
some
I
sink problems upstairs, though, so we're gonna have to plan accordingly.
Major development in Nesson World is we got a clogged sink, which is basically life imitating art. With you talking about
amazing, right?
Your issues,
yeah. And I'm still dealing with that issue at my house as well. By the way, yeah.
Well, hopefully,
I've been eating a lot of takeout, so it hasn't really come into play too much. But
is it a sink? Your sink just keeps clogging up?
Yeah. So and then I'll. Do
you have a garbage disposal on the sink?
I do.
So have you tried the Allen wrench thing underneath, where you just like twist it until it kind of?
So, yes, like months ago, and then I just don't. I'm trying to avoid.
So you think this is a sink,
really get back in
sink
there.
thing or a disposal thing?
I think it's a disposal thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you just get under and kind of just turn it around. Yeah, but like that's the thing. If it's permanently porked, you're gonna have to replace that at some point. You can get by, just keep doing it, right? Do you want to keep doing that every?
I don't want to.
No, you don't.
That's the thing. So
yeah,
this just seems like a problem for the landlord.
Oh, that's right. That's that. Yeah. Why even?
Yeah. Well, but I like to I pick my spots when I bother him because I don't want a reputation as the guy who's always complaining about something. So I like to wait.
Who cares?
But I wait till a few things.
Is he gonna hold that against you?
No, he's a very nice guy. We get along very well. But maybe that's why, though, because I don't bother him.
Yeah, that's a good point. As a homeowner, which is not a brag, because it's a disaster. It's like you go through this, and you got to do it yourself, or you got to pay somebody else to do it. Like this is the whole point
like I have
renting.
My dishwasher has never worked, so this is why the only time the water really backs up is when I'm doing dishes, and I have to do dishes because my dishwasher doesn't work.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of kitchen issues going on, but yeah, I like to just wait until something else pops up, and then I'll be like, oh, by the way, my sink sucks.
Dishwasher is another interesting one. I had an issue with that a couple years ago, very old dishwasher, and I called a guy. He came over. He's like, yeah, the thing's too old. I can't fix it. I was like, oh, thanks. I had to give him $100 just basically to tell me that. Had a new one delivered. Didn't check off like the takeaway. Like the guys are like, nope, we can't take that. So and then I didn't pay for the installation, so I ended up installing myself. So I am an expert if you need a little help.
I haven't needed.
The thing still worked. The house is not burned down. But yeah, I had another a dishwasher from like 1986 in my kitchen for like 3 weeks before I finally called the town and be like, take this away. So I tell you,
I do love places that specialize in like repairing very old stuff. Like there's a place near my old house that they still have signs up about like repairing lamps.
Yeah.
I'm always just like very curious as to what kind of lamps go through that place. Yeah, I think back to like years ago, like I remember getting like my Nintendo fixed and like my Sega fixed, and like now if you have a video game system and it's broken, I assume you're just out of luck, right? Like I would imagine
I don't really have one, so I've been looking into that. We'll have to revisit that at some point. Maybe if we win a few bets this week.
Video game chatter. I forgot two guys that don't play video games.
I went back and I've been back to the well. I parlayed all of our picks last week. They did not hit, so I don't have a PlayStation 5 yet, or even a 4 because we didn't even come close. But we're into week 11 here, as we kind of talked about earlier. 3 games this week between 7-win teams. You get the Commanders and Eagles on Thursday night, Ravens, Steelers, and Chiefs, Bills. That's the most in week 11 NFL history, I guess, if that's a very random stat. I think Schefter had that. And then this one, I forget where I saw this already, but maybe Action Network. For the first time since 2020 and the second time in a decade, we have 3 matchups of which both teams have a win percentage of 70% or higher in week 11 or later. I guess that's basically kind of the same stat, but it's said a different way. Do you have anything you're looking forward to? I mean, we're kind of going to get into most of these games. So I mean, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to touch on before we get into our picks, but
no, I think we got. Yeah, I think we got a few good games, and we're gonna. Sure. I think, like you said, we're gonna get into them, so I don't want to spoil anything.
Okay, then let's get into the picks. Before we do, thank you as always for joining us here on the Spread in Essence Football Picks podcast. You can join us on Spotify, Apple, wherever else you get your podcast, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. If you want to watch us. We talked about experts in the fields of dishwasher repair. We like to think of ourselves as experts in New England-based sports picks podcasts. So we would love you for you to join us each and every week right here. Ricky, which 3-unit pick this week?
We do love you too. You know, we love all the viewers. 3-unit pick. I'm going to take the Bengals, getting 1.5 points on the road against the Chargers.
I mean, it's like we talk about the Bengals getting off the map more than we talk about the weather at this point. But
I'm still in on them. I'm still in on them. I double down at every turn. But this is a sneaky, intriguing game, I think.
I agree.
All right.
Yeah. No, I think they're always intriguing because they're just. Yeah, they're volatile,
but I think the Chargers are as well. Just for
yin and the yang here, 2 very different teams.
Yeah, try to figure out what the Chargers are, how good they actually are. But I'm going to take the 1.5 points with Cincinnati, who, despite the records, I think you can make the case that they're the better team. Obviously, a lot of their losses have been, by literal toes, in fingers, a lot of, phalanges. And a lot of this for me, we've talked about the Chargers defense. I don't know if they've given up 20 points yet this year, but I think it was you that either last week or the week before talked about how some of the offenses they've faced have not been very good though. Like I think this defense, I don't want to take too much away from it. Like it's been good. The numbers bear that out, but still, I mean, you look at the wins and the offenses they've faced. This is in terms of offensive DVOA. Las Vegas, 31st. Carolina, 28th. Denver, 24th. New Orleans, 20th. That was they had Spencer Rattler in that game. Cleveland, 32nd. Tennessee, 27th. The Chargers losses, Pittsburgh, 18th. Kansas City, 10th. Arizona, 11th. So when they've run into even mediocre offenses, the defenses... Or, the end result hasn't been there. This is by far the best offense I think they've faced so far. Joe Burrow is, I'm sitting there. I think I could probably throw away the MVP ticket because maybe just the result for the season is not going to be there record-wise. But he's otherwise been awesome. I mean, he leads the NFL in passing yards. Pro Football Focus's highest graded passer besides Lamar Jackson. 24-4 touchdown to interception ratio. 3rd in QB rating. 2nd in total QBR. This is a game where, despite all the things the Chargers do well defensively, they do have the lowest pressure rate outside of Carolina. So I think this is a spot that we get to see some of the cracks in the Chargers defense, and Cincinnati wins outright on the road.
Interesting. Yeah, this is a game the more I think about it, I would like to watch because I haven't seen a ton of the Chargers this year.
Pretty good.
And I get what you're saying, and I guess I made the same point a couple weeks ago about the Chargers. Yeah, it's legit. Like they haven't really beat anybody who's great. That being said, like, I wish I could bet on them to win the Super Bowl 2 years from now because I really like what they've built. And I guess that's not a really strong, groundbreaking take, but, like, you look at the problems that they've had in years past, they would have lost some of these games that you're kind of holding against them.
So I was just going to say, like, this, if there's one thing that gives you pause in this game if you're a Cincinnati backer, it's probably that Cincinnati is finding ways to lose these games, whereas the Chargers suddenly, after years of ineptitude in late game situations, are being the ones that are finding ways to win these games.
Yeah, and that's why, like, at a point and a half, I don't really love either side here, but I think either the Bengals win outright or the Chargers beat the absolute piss out of them, because they do kind of feel like a team, if they sense the other team is on the ropes or dead, they kind of just, it's like Anaconda-y, where they'll just vice grip you to death. Like, I think, what was it? It was the Titans game last week. It was, the score was kind of close, but it also never felt close from afar. So I think Harbaugh has really done exactly what you would expect for him to do, especially in year one, is raise the floor, kind of turn them into an adult version of what they've been in the past. I think it's probably still a little too early for the Chargers to be legitimate Super Bowl contenders this year. But like I said, in 2 years from now, they get a couple off seasons to augment that and maybe evolve a little bit as an offense. I think that's their issue, is they're going to lose a playoff game 14-10. Like, it'll be a rock fight the whole way, but they'll end up losing because they just don't have enough firepower. But I really like what they've done. So
I took Joe Burrow, like I mentioned, the MVP bet a few weeks ago. It was at 23-1 when I got
30
it. He's now 30-1 at FanDuel, which is wild because, like, I feel like since I've placed that bet, he's only gotten better.
Yeah.
He's been amazing. They just haven't won games.
I mean, their playoff odds have gone down, right? Like, that's he's not going to win the MVP if they don't make the playoffs. That is one I might circle back. That could be PlayStation money right there.
There you go.
30-1. That's
money.
That's a good little.
The one other, just from like a season-long awards thing, because I know we talked about this last week in terms of Offensive Player of the Year. Derrick Henry, still a favorite, -140. Saquon Barkley, second, +310. Jamar Chase at 7-1 now, after having like a bazillion yards last week.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't have enough time to make up that ground
like,
relative to the other two. I think Saquon might have a shot at leapfrogging, backwards hurdling. No pun very much intended. Derrick Henry at some point. Chase probably not so much, but still interesting.
Fair enough. Speaking of really good offensive players, let's go to my 3-unit pick. I'm falling for the bait, taking the Chiefs, however you want to put it. I'm taking the Kansas City Chiefs, getting 1.5 when I put it in. I think it might be up to 2 now. At Buffalo, taking on the Bills. The Chiefs obviously undefeated. The Bills, I believe, are 8-2, 7-2, 2-loss team, I believe. Some interesting stuff in this game. I saw CBS Sports CEO David Burson told the AP that the CBS made this game their top request for the entire season. He said, "We felt like as a home of the AFC, we should continue to tell that story." CBS also bringing NFL Today pregame show to Buffalo, which is something that they only do for the conference championship and the Super Bowl. Now, you might be saying, what does that matter? And it really doesn't matter to anything. But my pick here, it's as square as it gets, but I'm doing the narrative thing. I don't care. Like, I think this is going to feel like a playoff game. It's being treated like a playoff game. It's two legitimate Super Bowl contenders. If that's the case, give me the Chiefs. Like, I know it hasn't looked pretty. It is not. It's been really bad. And actually, they're going to trip up somewhere sooner than later, and they're probably not going to win the Super Bowl because I don't think they're good enough. But I'm contradicting myself a little bit here. I think they can still reach back like a pitcher and get 98 in the 7th inning when they need to. And I think this is the 7th inning for them in this regard. We saw it with the 49ers game a few weeks ago. I thought that was one where they really stepped up defensively. They sacked Purdy 3 times, picked him off 3 times. They were up by 2 touchdowns late in that game until the 49ers scored a meaningless touchdown. I look at 2. Buffalo has played not a ton of great defenses. I think most of them are in the second half of the league by DVOA, except for Houston, a game that they lost. They only scored 20 points in there. So I do wonder if this Chiefs defense comes in and gives them fits. On the other side, sure, the Chiefs offense does not look good, and the Buffalo defense is good. But I do think Kansas City is going to find a way to turn the ball over on defense in a big spot that's going to ice the win for them. Also, Josh Allen. He's thrown, I think, 4 picks in the last 3 weeks after not throwing any in the first 7 weeks of the season. But this has kind of been a consistent trend for him over the course of the season. I think only 4 quarterbacks have more turnover-worthy passes than Allen this season. So I do think there's an opportunity here for an advantageous Kansas City defense to take advantage of maybe some mistakes there from Allen. And then, too, our good friend Ben Fox put this out. Mahomes in his career, 12-1-1 against the spread as an underdog with 11 outright wins. 11 outright wins in, 14 games as an underdog is truly insane. So, again, this is just going to feel like the Super Bowl in November. This is a chili day. I'm telling you out front. This is get the chili in the crock pot early, or whatever food you want to go to, whatever your big Sunday in the fall football watching meal is, get in the crock pot so it's ready for halftime of this game. The sun sets early. This is going to feel like a big game, and if that's the case, give me the Chiefs.
That's one of those trends that I look at and I'm like, there's something to that. Some of them you can throw away and chalk them up as just trends, but how many times do you have to see it play
And I don't
out?
even think it has to be intangible necessarily. I don't think they look at it as I don't think the Chiefs go in insulted and just take it out on their team. I just think they're always arguably the better team in every game that they play. It's just
from these two teams, I could totally see a scenario where Buffalo just beats the piss out
I agree.
of them.
And then
they rematch
then the Chiefs beat them in the playoffs.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if that's the case, I got to think that's Buffalo coming out early and scoring 21 points in the first quarter or something and running away and hiding, because I don't know if Kansas City has
Buffalo to just beat the bag out of them and then lose them in the playoffs.
Yeah, so because I don't think Kansas City necessarily has the big comeback capability that maybe it had in recent years. So
they haven't needed it, though.
Well, that's the thing. So if you're Buffalo, the way to win this game is, I know it's pretty easy to say it, but you come out, you get on the board early, you get up a couple of touchdowns, and then try to salt the thing away.
48 in rain showers on Sunday in Buffalo, in Orchard Park. So
I've been trying to figure out who I like coming out of the AFC, and I think I'm starting to settle on Buffalo a little bit. I don't know. It feels a little different this year.
Yeah,
the hype is a little toned down. I like it.
And I do think the Chiefs, it goes both ways, right? It's it depends how you want to see it. It's either they are just resilient as hell and they've just find ways to win even when they don't have any business winning, or this is going to run out at some point and it probably happens at the worst time. And if it's the latter, they lose to the Chargers in the divisional round or something, and all of a sudden the Chargers go in a game they have no business being in, they have to go to Orchard Park and play the Bills, right? And if it falls that way, then you got to love the Bills. And that's the other thing, too. If the Bills win this game, that thing goes through Western New York, probably. So,
have you looked at the...
Well, maybe not, because then the Chiefs only have 1 point loss.
The Chiefs' schedule... Well, that was going to be my next point. Have you looked at the Chiefs' schedule for the rest of the season?
Yeah, it's mostly
pinpoint any losses.
It's mostly divisional games, right? I know they have a Christmas game. Is that...
They do. They have a Christmas game. They got a Black Friday game.
They're all over the place.
They got Sunday night at home against the Chargers, who you just mentioned. I could see them losing 3 games down the stretch.
I think if they lose 1, the floodgates open.
I think
going Pittsburgh, Denver to end the season around the holidays.
Either one of those games they could lose, man. Especially if they have
cold,
the number
both
1
on the
seed
road.
locked up.
Yeah.
That Houston game is not a gimme. Honestly, they might get got on Black Friday by the Raiders. That's just you start factoring weird scheduling quirks and things like that. I don't know.
Did they lose that Christmas game last year? They didn't lose in that game, the Jack Jones pick 6 game.
Maybe. I don't know.
I can effort that. I'm literally on Pro Football Reference.
Years ago.
It does. I mean, it was basically a year. Yeah, they lost to the Raiders 20-14 on Christmas.
All right, there you go. Repeat.
Lightning doesn't strike twice. Yeah. All right. So as you prepare for the holidays, why not give the gift of our podcast to all of your friends and family? Tell them about the spread on Nesson's family of vodcast/podcast. Catch it at Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you want to watch us, throw this on. Instead of the Yule log, throw our faces up on the big screen. You can do that on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch. So please join us every week here Thursdays for the rest of the season. All right, Ricky, what's your 2-unit pick? That was pretty good by me. If I'm not gonna.
Not bad. Not bad. Really coming into your own.
What's your 2-unit play?
I'm looking at a total here. I'm going to go Falcons Broncos in Denver under 44.5. This is mostly a fade of the Falcons offense and just I think Atlanta in general.
This is not one of the sneaky games that I will be. This is like the antithesis of your first game.
Oh,
Nah, this one doesn't do it for me.
No,
so
I mean, you
your
got a first place team in the Falcons and a
we might get to this
caliber team in the Broncos.
The Falcons might suck. So, but
okay, so that's
take
my
me
point.
through your empirical data.
Well, I don't really have any. That's just the point. They're an eye test team for me. Like, does it feel right to you?
Does what feel right? That they're
them being any good?
It's actually a good point because I was running through. We're going to talk a little bit about the NFC maybe a little bit later, maybe, or we can do it now in terms of like the playoff race. It's going to be tough. Like there's going to be a good team that doesn't make the playoffs.
Yeah,
which I think is under the assumption that the Falcons go on to win that division. And like enlisting the teams that might get squeezed out, I was like, do I have the Falcons to this? It's kind of hard to do that when they got a 2-game lead in the division now. Yeah. So,
and honestly, you look at the offensive numbers and they're pretty good for the most part. So I'm like, maybe I'm just not giving them enough credit, but it hasn't looked.
You know what?
Right.
I'm out.
Good.
I'm buying. I'm good. Selling. They have a point differential of +2, despite being 2 games over 500. They are 4-1 in the division, which means they are 2-3 outside the division. I think they're taking advantage of bad teams in the South, which is like no kidding, dude. But they're gonna host a playoff game and it's gonna stink, and they'll probably win that because they have no. It's just like they are the frauds.
A divisional game too.
The playoff frauds. So go on. Sorry.
No, but this to me feels like a game where that offense, which has been, if there's
any tea out of it.
I was gonna say I've seen you take like 25 sips out of that.
There's nothing coming out of it.
There's like maybe a centimeter.
I think the tea bags are blocking the. But I don't want to take the lid off because I'm gonna spill it all over myself.
I thought it was like one of those, like those cups that have like the liquid in the side. It's like a. I don't know, like you.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
I don't know how to describe it. It's
Next week I'll be wearing a football helmet, drinking or a crazy straw.
Maybe it's the ice. Do you have ice?
No, I'm telling. I think it's the tea bags. It's blocking the thing.
How many
but
you got in
I
there?
Also too. Yeah, this is a new revelation.
That looks like a jellyfish.
Have you put 2 tea bags in a tea before?
No, I stick to
Game
one
changer.
Bag. Really?
For decaf.
Okay.
But yeah, so like I'm afraid that I'm gonna drink really hot tea. I'm afraid I'm gonna spill it, so I just keep sipping on it. Nothing's coming out.
Anyways, Falcons Broncos. So for me, this is a fate of the Falcons offense. I mean, we've talked about the Denver defense a few times over the past few weeks. I think they might be a little overrated, but I also think that this is a spot where they're going to be able to get after Kirk Cousins a little bit. Denver, number 1 in pass rush win rate. Atlanta, 18th in pass blocking on Pro Football Focus. See, like, the one thing for Denver, too, like, I would feel much better about them, especially offensively, if they had a running game. Like, they don't really have a running game at all outside of the quarterback is their running game. So, I would feel better about their just collective makeup if that was...
They're like a slightly uglier version, less flashy version of the Chargers, where it's like... They don't do the same things. It's not a perfect analogy, but, like, you look at the numbers, like, they're 15th in the league DVOA. The offense is pretty bad. The defense is borderline elite. Special teams is good. Like, it's just solid, I guess.
Yeah, it's very...
But it feels a little early.
Veteran coaches, if you want to take it to that. But, yeah, no, I think this is a game where in Denver... They kind of fluster Kirk Cousins throughout the course of the game, keep this to a low total. Maybe Atlanta wins it, but I think it gets under the 44.5.
Broncos game last week was in Kansas City, right?
Yes.
I was about to ask. Yeah. Like it feels like the Broncos never play road games, but maybe that's just they literally played one last week, so I guess that's not the case.
Like Denver is a team where for me it's like week to week.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if I really have a good read on them throughout the course of the season, but it's just like last week I loved them in that spot against Kansas City because you got to factor in the opponent spot too. And like that for me was, and I think you did take Denver. Like we were all in on backing them, but then the week prior
I did.
was what, Baltimore? And they got steamrolled.
Yeah.
And that felt like
Another
It felt
comp,
like they were going to get rolled.
another comp for them might be like AFC Arizona, where it feels flip floppy
Again, less flashy.
Yeah,
Very much a roller coaster ride.
hard to really feel good about it.
Yeah.
But yet here you are making it your 2-unit play.
Yeah. Well, the under.
Well, yeah, that's true.
The under.
That's a good point. All right, my 2-unit play. I was actually going to make this my 1-unit play, but I think people don't really care about this. But at the same time, I end up changing my picks, the order of my picks, based on really just saying the quiet part out loud, based on whatever yours are, so we can kind of dovetail if necessary. I guess maybe we're not going to do this one, but I'm taking the Rams as 4.5-point favorites at New England. This was kind of my first look for 3-unit play. Because
I almost took this too.
This just feels like almost too obvious.
Yeah.
Like one team that is dreadful. I really still think the Patriots suck. Coming off of the conversation, at least locally, has almost turned to like they're trending the right. They lost the Titans 2 weeks ago. Like they lost that game.
The only reason I didn't take this game is I think I got a little scared away by the short week travel across the country.
I'm going to get to you.
Okay,
I'm going to get to that. So like
that's because you talked me out of that.
I'm diving in head first. Right. So this is again
because I do have one simple rationale for just backing the Rams in this game, and it's just the coaching.
Yeah. So again, I'm gonna get.
All right.
No, I don't mean that. No, it's fine. But like, it's just one of those ones where it's like, well, all the narratives are going the other direction. Right? One team's playing well. One team looked like crap on Monday night, and one team's gonna go across the country, play a short week against the ascendant team. I felt like I was doing the Trump there for a second. And like, I'm no bookmaker, but I would have put this at like on a neutral field, the Rams -7. And so it's at 4.5. I don't think it's a 2.5-point swing for this game to be at Gillette. So the number just feels a little bit off to me. One interesting thing, Patriots, this is the third time this season that they've played a team on short rest. They are 0-2 straight up and against the spread, which I guess you could apply to everything because they suck for the most part. McVay on short rest. So to get into this thing, these are all from Action Network. I actually found this after I made this pick, so this is not just me laying into trends that I found on the internet. But McVay on short rest, 14-6 against the spread for his career, 5 straight wins, 10-1 in his last 11, 6-1 with Stafford. What
No, it's just a sick stat. Like, because I feel like so frequently you come across stats of like so and so coming off a bye or so and so coming off an extra rest. Like, I love the fact that there's a coach who just thrives being tired.
And so like, and the other thing is too is like
it's very relatable.
If I were to ask you who is the best coach in the NFL, like you wouldn't have to say a lot of names before you got to Stafford, and McVay.
Yeah.
And so like if he's this good against the number, that tells you that like he's being undervalued. So the market at least doesn't think he's that good of a coach because they're, I guess 20 games is a pretty big sample size. So like it just doesn't something doesn't mesh with like the narratives and the thought process. Rams off of a home loss as a favorite last week are now road favorites of a field goal or more. These teams since 2003 covering 58%, 5-2 this season, and 29-15-2 since 2020. That is again from Action Network. So all the trends point toward the Rams. Like not even really galaxy brain thinking to be on this. It's just it actually kind of does play out that way more often than not. Again, I talked about I want to pump the brakes on the Patriots' success. For starters, they lost 2 weeks. Like they lost that game to the Titans. People forget that they lost the games to the Titans. The Bears suck. The Bears are so bad. It makes me so happy how bad the Bears are. I absolutely adore it. Which means they'll probably beat the Packers this week. But like they can't block a soul. The Patriots, I think they had what is it? Do I have this number somewhere? The Patriots had like 16 sacks all season. They had 9 last week. Like that's just they took advantage of a really bad team, a directionless team. The Bears have the 31st ranked offensive line according to Pro Football Focus. Tennessee is 28th. The Rams not a whole lot better at 21st, but this is a major step up. You also think McVay is going to game plan around whatever the Patriots want to try to do, which probably is geared at stopping the run. Kyron Williams, this is from Pro Football Focus, has run for more first downs than anyone not named Derrick Henry. Stafford not as good as he's been in the past, maybe even as the eye test suggests, but I think a lot of that is based on the injuries and stuff on the offense. He's 22nd this season EPA, and outside of Monday night, he has looked better since getting Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua back. Like this is just like what offense rivals this for Patriots opponents this year? Like even if it's not operating at 100%, like you can almost throw out the Bengals game in week 1 because we all know the Bengals suck in week 1 and may just suck in general. Outside of that, it's like the Jets.
Yeah,
maybe.
I mean, I could also see the Patriots offense struggling in this game too. Again, we've seen on Monday night, it
was a strong defensive effort from the Rams.
Yeah, the ability to create turnovers. Like, they got some young building blocks on that team. That's the funny thing about all this. So really strong. Why did you take the top off?
No, it wasn't opening. It wasn't open all the way. I've now opened it all the way. Now I can get tea out of it.
There you go. Now you're gonna be slopping it all over the place.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about like this change in narrative surrounding the Patriots is like it's not like their offensive output has suddenly skyrocketed, both in terms of yardage and points. Like, it's kind of stayed the same. It just looks a lot different. They're talking about they're just getting there differently than they were with Jacoby Brissett.
They're talking about this on the radio this week. Shane Waldron just got fired in Chicago, the offensive coordinator, and their numbers across the board are better than the Patriots. Granted, like the last 3 weeks, they've been the worst offense in football. I'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, it hasn't been good. I mean, and may makes them a little bit better, at least raises the ceiling, but it hasn't been good. And I think
you're getting the runs, the first down runs. You're getting some of the.
He didn't play great on Sunday.
No,
in Chicago. And so like I look at it too. I think they're so far away from fully formed, and I do think there's got to be a change at some point. That one thing I wanted to hit on real quick was interesting report this week from Adam Schefter, I think it was, on McAfee, who said the Giants are flip-flopping and they could be trending toward a coaching change as well. If Brian Daboll shakes loose, that's the guy I would at least look at if I'm the Patriots to replace Alex Van Pelt. I don't think Van Pelt's long for his job here. Daboll makes all the sense in the world. The guy who had success with Josh Allen, the comps there with Drake May, he's familiar with New England. So that's one thing I just wanted to squeeze in there. So
yeah, and I also like the Alex Van Pelt hiring still kind of just blows my mind. Like, it's almost like they viewed it as a placeholder, maybe to keep
hired
the
him to fire him almost
for something like this to develop. Like, let's get through this year. Maybe he anticipated Jacoby Brissett lasting a little longer than he did. Yeah. And then you get to the following offseason and you see who becomes available because of coaching changes. Yeah. But that would play certainly into the Patriots' hands. Sign me up.
Yes. Oh, there you go. We squeeze that into the conversation. Moving forward, make sure you squeeze the spread into your podcast listening and viewing habits. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever else you get your podcast. And also check out our beautiful faces on the Nesson YouTube page, Nesson on Twitch, and actually it's on the Facebook page as well. So go listen to us and watch us there every Thursday where we break down all the fun stuff, and I try to drink tea. So.
Yep. Squeeze it in there. Squeeze away.
What's your 1 unit pick?
My 1 unit pick. All right, I'm going to do another under. Back-to-back unders here. I'm going to take the under 42.5 in Houston, Dallas. We are coming off a game in which Dallas just scored 6 points against Philadelphia. Obviously, Dak Prescott no longer the quarterback due to his injury. Their willingness to go to and seemingly stick with this week, Cooper Rush, says a lot about Trey Lance and what they think of him organizationally.
Major issue.
For me, it's hard to figure out where the points come from Dallas's perspective. You're facing a Houston defense that, we talked about this earlier in the season, that I felt like Houston's offense might have been a little overrated and Houston's defense might be a little bit underrated. Houston, second in defensive DVOA behind only Minnesota. They get after the quarterback. They stop the run. So it's going to be hard for Dallas to score in this game. And, to the other point, like, Houston's offense has been in rough shape here. I think finally getting Nico Collins back will help. But we are seeing, some of the – when you look at C.J. Stroud and what could potentially be an issue this year after his rookie season, like, I think some of the deep ball success he had last year has come crashing back down to earth a little bit. Mistakes are ticking upwards. And maybe just the book is kind of out on that offense. So now it's incumbent upon them to make their adjustments and see where everything lands from there. But as it stands, I don't think that offense is in great shape. Dallas's defense, I think Houston will probably just try to run the ball. I mean, that would be the smart play here, in which case that's conducive to an under. I think Dallas has the potential to get a little bit better down the stretch defensively, though. I mean, when you get Micah Parsons back, that should boost the pass rush, and that's where Stroud has struggled as well. So I think this game turns a little bit ugly. But again, like I could see another scenario where it's similar to last week where Dallas gets hardly any offense going and Houston gets just enough. You're looking at like a 24-6 type scenario.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I'm not really too worried about Stroud yet.
No, I don't think
they've had a lot of injuries.
I don't think long term I am. The offensive line is doing him no favors whatsoever.
That's the big issue. And I think they're pretty good on the outside. With Tunzel obviously is good. Howard's been pretty good. The interior's not been good. Shaq Mason's had a rough year for a guy that they kind of depend on. The injuries to the receivers on the outside are evident as well. I think if they really make the offensive line a priority in the offseason, this is the type of team that all of a sudden they'll be top 5 in the offense next year and be like, oh yeah, they're fine. So,
yeah, I think this
seems like simple fixes.
Sure.
Maybe Bobby Slowick should have taken a head coaching job.
They peak real early in rookie season. You have the sophomore slump, and then year 3 you get back to what it was you kind of had going your rookie season.
I'm going to breeze through my 1 unit pick so we can get to the fight, but I'm taking the under in the Packers-Bears game. The total is currently set at 40.5, which is super low, but we've seen a trend that I can't totally back up right now because I didn't look it up, but low totals feel like have gone under at a pretty undeniable rate this season. This is wild. I was looking at the Bears schedule. So they scored an average of 32 points in the 3 games leading up to the bye against the Rams, Carolina, and Jaguars. That game was in London. Again, average 32 points. They went 3-0. Since the bye, after the Jacksonville game, they've scored 27 points total in those 3 weeks. They can't block a soul. I think they're on their 4th or 5th offensive tackle. And I don't know what the injury situation is going to be this week, but Rashawn Gary, Lucas Van Ness coming in, probably not going to help a lot. The Packers have been pretty creative at dialing up some blitzes and things like that, especially from the outside, using the defensive secondary to create pressure on the quarterback. This is the type of thing that doesn't feel like Caleb Williams is going to see very well. So I think they're going to really do a good job of creating pressure. No one's been sacked more over the last 3 weeks of that time than Stroud. 18 sacks in the last 3 games, and only Stroud has been pressured more. So that kind of, talking on 2 things there. Williams completing 50% of his passes over the last 3 weeks, just 1 big-time throw. His turnover-worthy plays, I don't think he's made 1, but, if you watch them, which I did on Sunday, it's hard to throw turnover-worthy passes when you're missing guys by, 30 yards, it feels like. So it's almost just like he's too
more
bad.
susceptible to intentional grounding.
Yeah, right. If he is going to turn it over, the Packers are very good at forcing turnovers. Only the Vikings have forced more turnovers. Again, talked about, this is what it was. Yeah, the Patriots sacked them 9 times last week. They had 16 sacks in their 9 games previous total. Not sure that the aforementioned coordinator changes to make much of a difference this week. I thought about taking the Packers here, but I have reservations about the Packers' offense. Even coming out of the bye, under the Matt LaFleur, Packers are just 2-3 straight up coming out of the bye. They've failed to score more than 17 points in 3 of those games, and they've eclipsed 24 points just once. It does feel like they should be the type of team that comes out of the bye and looks 1,000 times better.
Yeah,
it just hasn't totally matched up that way.
A couple of interesting head coaching trends. This week.
Yeah, there you go. Between that one I came up with myself too. I just did the
short rest.
That I did the chicken scratch on.
Interesting.
They've been terrible in terms of very dumb stuff. They've committed a ton of back-breaking penalties, drops, fumbles, things like that. They just haven't looked very sharp. If the Bears do one thing well, it's play defense. So I think it's going to be tough to go on the road here. Maybe there's just a ton of apathy in Chicago and it doesn't actually matter, but I think they're going to struggle to score some points too. Jordan Love is more or less a lock for a bad interception. And in fact, he has the longest interception streak in the NFL right now, 8 straight games, which feels, I have to double check that because that almost feels wrong, but I believe it at the same time. With some just backbreakers to the point where actually 2 of them have gone for pick sixes with him just flinging the ball up at the end of a half. So as long as we avoid that type of thing, that's my issue here. Is one of these teams is going to score on defense that gets
some very really short fields,
makes it takes a very big chunk into that total. But I think 23-10 type of Packers win here is probably where I'd lean. I just don't feel super confident about their offense, so I like the total here better than the side.
You doing the any of the second guessing from a draft standpoint with the quarterbacks? And
no, I don't think so.
I guess the Jaden Daniels being the obvious one, but I mean, I guess I'm more talking Caleb Williams versus Drake May.
Caleb Williams' problems, I don't think he's that good. Well, relative to what everybody thought he would be. It does feel like that's more of the situation than it is his play. I'll give him a couple of years. He's so early. It's so early.
Yeah.
And like Jaden Daniels could be CJ Stroud next year too, so we don't even know that. So like, no, I'm not ready to reshuffle it yet. I'm still not even totally sold on Drake May.
I was gonna say I don't think if you take Drake May and put him on this Bears team, you're getting much better results.
I saw Orlovsky being pants off for him earlier today, and it's like, well, yeah, you can highlight 2 or 3 passes he's going to make every game that are jaw-dropping stuff, but can you put it together for 60 minutes, 17 games a year? That's a long road to hoe, and so I don't think either of them, and any of them are there yet. So I'm not ready to reshuffle it just yet.
It's crazy. I think I'm in on May. I think the Patriots found their guy.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's going to be good. I think you're seeing what you need to see from him at this stage of his career. But the hoopla, ooh, baby. It's
sad,
man.
It's sad to watch.
It is. Maybe the bar was just so
That's
low
the problem.
that any sort of hope, you just cling to it. But we really need to pump the brakes.
We're doing a lot of brake pumping this week.
Somebody's got to do it.
As he comes out and puts up 40 this week. Oh, God. All right. We really got to go pretty quick. But are you going to watch this fight on Friday night? I think it's on Netflix, right? Mike Tyson taking on Jake Paul.
Check it out.
They've done a hell of a job.
You know, I like novelty.
Yeah, and it's unsurprising. Like, Jake Paul is a social media maven. Like, he's, whatever. Like, they've done enough here where there's that video out that's going viral of Tyson watching him. He's sitting on the couch, and he's like, Jake Paul is basically a manufactured killer. I'm a natural born killer. And I'm like, that's it. Clear my schedule on Friday night. You did it. It works. I don't have to pay any money out of my pocket either. I love the idea that this is on Netflix. So I'm going to watch it, I think, as long as I can stay up late enough.
Yeah.
Jake Paul is a minus 210 favorite. Tyson plus 172 according to FanDuel. That was of Tuesday morning. You can bet on a Tyson knockout. That's plus 240. A Jake Paul knockout plus 140. I think there's some stuff about will it go to the distance, minus 200 for the no, so people don't expect it. Tyson's 58 years old. Jake Paul's 27. That's a 31-year age difference. Tyson had 47 fights before Jake Paul was even born. The novelty factor is through the roof. I'm probably going to bet on this. One bet I love, Tyson to win in 60 seconds, 23-1. Like,
all right.
There's a world, again, you do this thing. If you have this fight 1,000 times, a handful of times, he's going to rock him one time. And the only thing is, like, is it fixed? That's the only thing that would keep you away from that.
Yeah.
But he could catch him with the right hand and knock him out in 20.
You have that problem with any boxing match now where, like, you just kind of wait for something fishy to happen. But otherwise, I'm going heavy on the Jake Paul side on this.
Are you?
Oh, yeah.
You're not buying the propaganda on the Mike Tyson?
Tyson is the man is almost 60 years old.
58.
That's insane. He hasn't fought professionally since, what, like 2005 or something? They pushed this back because he had an ulcer flare-up?
Yeah, in the 2005 fight, again, 24 years ago, he lost in the 6th round to Kevin McBride.
Old guy power and, like, hey, you got to teach the kid a lesson here, but, like, okay, that works on the streets. That doesn't work against a legitimate professional boxer, which, whatever you think of Jake Paul, the guy has fought in professional boxing matches. It's not like you're picking him up off the street.
But
he's a trained boxer, so
he's got a reach. He's got a pretty substantial reach.
Tyson's gonna gas out in like 20 seconds.
That's the thing. So yeah, if I'm making a Tyson bet, it's an early knockout.
Also, Jake Paul looks big. Like size-wise, the height.
He's doing steroids.
This is
am I gonna get some trouble for that?
I don't think there's any scenario where Mike Tyson wins this fight.
I'm hoping for it. I think it would be sick if he won. Is that the best thing for it if he wins?
It would be cool. I'm also not going to sit here and pretend that either one of these, like, Mike Tyson's not the greatest guy in the world either. Like, I don't really like either. I don't like either of these guys. I don't like either of these guys, so a double knockout would be great.
A lot of tattoos above the neck for these gentlemen.
Yeah, no, but I mean, Tyson winning would be would be cool. Just seeing an old guy beat up a young guy is always
That's
cool.
the thing.
But,
that's how old I am. That's where I'm at in my life.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
I
No,
want to
I
see
agree
Jake
with
Paul
that.
get his ass whooped just because he's a young whippersnapper.
I just don't see it. I just don't see it.
I'm looking at this ESPN thing, and I was just scrolling through, and I saw Orthodox, and I was like, why is religion listed in this? It's actually talking about their stances.
Yeah.
So that tells you how much I know about boxing. So take my 23-1.
I also got to
ticket
dive
for what it's worth.
a little deeper into the details here, like the glove size. Aren't they using like pillows?
I was like, yeah. Yeah, but I'm trying to think of like what are the you just bought like the ones you can buy at the store basically.
Yeah, I think the gloves are bigger than they would usually be for a boxing. I could be making that up. I thought I saw somewhere that somebody was complaining about that on Twitter though.
14-ounce gloves.
Oh, 14. Hey, that's big, right?
Heavyweight boxing matches are regularly contested to 3-minute rounds with 10-ounce gloves. So it's 2-minute rounds. So that point, and Tyson's gonna knock him out.
All right.
So. He doesn't have to move. He doesn't have to go as long. He's got a heavy.
But my early lean is very much on the Jake Paul side.
Fair enough. Maybe we'll make a friendly bet on it. Bet a PlayStation 5 on it.
There you go.
Anything else, Ricky?
No.
All right, let's get out of here. That's the spread. That's Ricky. I'm Mike. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you again next week. Goodbye.